what is the significance of stepwise release of energy in the respiration? So students, in the respiration process, there are different stages of aerobic respiration. Each stages occurs in a sequence manner in an orderly pathway, and during this process energy is released. Now let us learn what would be the significance of releasing the energy in a stepwise process. So the process of aerobic respiration includes different stages like glycolysis, which occurs in the cytoplasm, citric acid cycle, which occurs in the matrix, ETS, and oxidative phosphorylation, which occurs in the inner mitochondrial membrane. So all these are the stages which occurs in a sequence one after the other. It is generally assumed that the process of respiration and production of ATP in each phase takes place in a stepwise manner. The reason is the product of one pathway becomes the substrate for the other pathway. For example, in glycolysis, glucose is converted to pyruvate. So this pyruvate enters into the mitochondria and it is converted into acetyl coenzyme A that enters into the citric acid cycle. So without this, citric acid cycle cannot begin. So the product of one pathway becomes the substrate for the other pathway. And similarly, various molecules produced during respirations are involved in the other biochemical processes. So if you take citric acid cycle, various oxaloacetate is formed. So this is required to begin the citric acid cycle. And many intermediate compounds are formed like succinate, malic acid. All these are converted into oxaloacetate. So various respiratory substrates are formed during respiration and it is involved in the biochemical reaction. The ATP gets utilized. So it is not always that during respiration energy is released, but in certain stages, whenever it is required, ATP will be consumed. So we call this reaction as a controlled reaction. For example, if you take glycolysis, the first stage, it is the energy will be added here. ATP will be consumed to produce glucose 1,6-phosphate or fructose 1,6-bis-phosphate. So instead of releasing ATP, ATP will be utilized over there. So similarly in other stages, wherever ATP is utilized, it will be added and finally in the end we get lot of ATPs. So that is why we call this reaction as a stepwise release of energy. This system makes more efficient in extracting and storing the energy. So energy will be formed over here. The energy formed are stored and utilized whenever it is required. So the NADH, FADH, which contains high electron, they are transported to the electron transport system, and from here during oxidative phosphorylation the energy from these stored substances will be converted into ATP. So there are various stages where ATP is formed. All this ATP will be utilized in an efficient manner. It is stored in the cells and it is transported to various parts of the cell where it is required and to perform a particular function.